I'm drawn to a new fragrance in three different ways. Number one, if there's a cool backstory, if I hear a story that I love, something that piques my interest, draws me in, makes me discover a bit more. Secondly, the bottle. If I see a bottle, I'm like, whoa, that looks pretty cool. That's very different. I'm not a minimalist sort of guy, so I like things that are a little bit blingy. And then finally, the fragrance, of course. If the fragrance then, if those other two draw me in, but then the fragrance is okay, then okay. But if the fragrance is exceptional, then tell me more. And then there's the Holy Trinity, where all three come together. And then I'm like, shut up and take my money. If you're new to my channel, I would love you to subscribe. It's all about awesome fragrances from around the world. Also, check out our Instagram page. We've got a great conversation happening over there too. Now, Clive Christian, he discovered the green bottle. So not this green bottle, but he discovered a green bottle, which was Crown Perfumery Co.'s signature, identity. Now, interestingly, the story goes back to a guy by the name of William Thompson, and he was a corset maker, 1840 in England. Now, corset makers, part of the fashion was to have this, just like teeny tiny waist. Supposedly, the story goes that a man or a husband should be able to span his hands around his wife's waist, which I'm thinking, it just sounds nuts. Just to think that, anyway. So what would happen is that because these corsets, and you've seen those, Pride and Prejudice movies and all that sort of stuff where the woman's getting the corset and she's like, I can't breathe. So they would faint. These things would be on so tight that they would have fainting spells. And so then, was birthed a new industry, which was smelling salts. And at the time, so William's son, whose name was also William, was a chemist. And he made the smelling salts, originally lavender, and it became a huge hit. For him, it was great. It was a great, product extension. He makes corset. His son makes smelling salts. But the smelling salts became very popular to the point that they even were, even the Queen Victoria at the time, became aware of these products. So they started to create more and more fragrances in the smelling salts, but they also then began to create perfume to the point, and as I mentioned, Queen Victoria became aware of William and the work that he was doing, and they actually even created perfumes for her. So then in 1872, you can see the date on this particular fragrance, was the birth of Crown Perfumery Co. Queen Victoria at the time gave permission for William to use, this is her actual crown, the design of her crown, to use that on his bottle. Now, why did she do this? The fragrances had become so popular that they were going all the way through Europe that Queen Victoria wanted to publicize to the world the English did it best. And so she gave permission to use her crown on the actual product. As years went on, the company got sold, blah, 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 and then the whole thing just went under and they disappeared. Until, as I mentioned, Clive Christian discovered that green bottle and started the journey to resuscitate or bring back the brand. So this one here, 1872. So when Clive Christian first launched this guy here, he created a masculine and feminine. And this is actually one of the original recipes. So actually you'll find that a lot of the fragrances, they've released some new ones, crabapple, those are original recipes, and they've been modernized so that they're more palatable for us. The early English perfumers loved their musk, so I think they've toned down the musks. But now this one. So I bought this quite a while back in my early part of my niche journey. Up until that moment, I think my most expensive perfume was $300 for 100 ml. And all of a sudden this guy came along, $400 for 50 mils. And I was like, what am I doing? But I don't regret it. The fragrance is spectacular. It's a glorious fragrance. Now, it starts off. So now Clive has said that there's probably about 230 different ingredients that he has. I also know that listed, there's so many different things. I'm just gonna focus on the ones that really pop for me. That way, that gives you an indication as to where this fragrance lies. Starts off with a very beautiful citrus. green, spicy opening. So things like bergamot, grapefruit, lime, but it also has things like petitgrain, pepper, and nutmeg. So for me, that opening, and it stays like that for about an hour. So beautiful, glorious opening, very fresh, very citrus, you know, brings you right in. But it stays like that for about an hour for me. Then in the heart, there are things like jasmine, neroli, musk, and one ingredient called clary sage, meaning that it stays very earthy and very grounded. Finally, in the base, you're looking at things like cedarwood. Actually, there's a lot of things in the base, but I'll focus on these key ones, which is cedarwood, sandalwood, patchouli, but it also has one called freesia. Now, freesia is it's a flower, and it's spicy, powdery, and this is what I find. On the dry down, it goes into a spicy, powdery, sort of woodsy sort of fragrance. This is a confidence booster. For me, I love wearing this. This is fresh, this is invigorating. It's a wonderful, powerful, masculine fragrance. Do I love it? 100%. I love this fragrance. This is one of the original classics in my collection and love using it. My wife loves the opening, not so much the dry down. She finds the dry down a little bit too spicy, and it goes a little bit heavy. On me, for some reason, it does get very earthy. So it dries down into a sort of a very masculine sort of place. But when it comes to others, you know, people can pick up this fragrance really well. So I get a lot of positive response, especially if I all of a sudden break out into a nervous sweat. This fragrance, it does this wonderful explosion on me. When it comes to its sillage, it's fantastic. For me, it's between moderate to high. So it fluctuates between those two areas there. And then when it comes to the actual pricing on this, as I mentioned earlier, it is a well, for us Aussies, it's a $400 fragrance, so it's not cheap, but 20% concentrate on oils, so it lasts and lasts. I find that this fragrance on me would last 10 plus hours. It has a lot of staying power. If you are an Australian, you can get 10% off. Libertine Parfumerie do carry this fragrance. Actually, they carry the whole Clive Christian range. And as an NFC subscriber, this is why I'm saying subscribe to NFC. So as an NFC subscriber, you can get 10% off. Libertine are very gracious and are sponsoring my channel, which is cool. Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that little bit of history on this amazing fragrance house. They have an exceptional collection. I strongly recommend that you check it out. And I'm going to give you one other tip. Because as I said, it does dry down a bit earthy on me. So you grab the feminine. This is my wife's. Don't tell her I did this. She's probably wondering, why is her fragrance going down so quickly? Now the feminine has a wonderful floral heart, and then the base is very similar to the masculine, but there's a lot more florals in the heart, and it stays, the masculine and feminine together, actually I'll put it back out here, is spectacular. It stays a lot fresher. She actually doesn't realize that she's like, well, what are you wearing today? Oh, 1872, but she doesn't realize that I'm mixing the two together. Thanks everyone, we'll see you on the next video.